To go through and talk about how to interact with your notes or how to discuss with other people for today, I am going to be using our notes on Chapter 11, Section 2. So everyone should, again, have my notes page out. You could also have your notes page out to compare what my initial notes looked like. And then we are going to continue talking about, again, once I have taken my notes, how do I then converse with somebody else on them? One of the first things that I will have you and your classmates look at is the prompt. So here our prompt says, evaluate the extent to which Islam changed as a religious and political system as it spread during the post-classical era. One of the first things I would look for with my group members is, again, some of these words from our spices chart that we are then going to make note of. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these words. So religious, as we talk about cultural and political, so that I know or have a focus for then what my classmates and I are going to be discussing. Going through that checklist again, some of the things that we could discuss or go over specific to location is drawing a map. We can highlight vocabulary words. We can cross out any details that we do not need to know. In addition, maybe circling or underlining information we should know and then being able to describe why is that information important. I can also make connections to older information that I've learned either in this class or other classes as well. The last thing that I'm going to do, and I will demo for you, is I should have a mini summary for every single heading or light blue heading from the textbook. So as I was going through and talking with somebody else about the introduction where it talked about the new Arab Empire and giving some locations, the first thing that came to my mind was that I was going to be drawing a map. And so for you right now, I'm going to be drawing my map. Here's the Iberian Peninsula. Here's Italy. I'm going down. Here's India, China, as well as Africa, which I know is not scale to size. And this is telling me, again, Egyptian, Roman, Byzantine, Persian. So I'm going to fill in the Egyptian Empire because I know that they conquered portions of northern Africa, the Roman and Byzantine empires, and the Mesopotamian Persian. So I know here we are talking about Eastern Europe as well as the Middle East, into India, specifically the northern portions of India. And I know that they are not going to conquer China, right? And so I'm going to draw a line right here to say, like, stop not conquering China. In addition, based on some readings, again, that you have already done, we know that Islam is also eventually going to make its way into Spain and some other northern portions of Africa, so I'm adding that in. This could also be the opportunity if you want to do some labeling on your map. So again, I could label in here, here's China, India, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, so I know what my map was trying to show me. When I'm all done with this section, then I might write an introduction, or I might write down, here's what I learned about this topic. And so for my introduction, I might just write down that the Arab Empire was huge, okay? So again, short, sweet, to the point. What do I really need to know about this topic if I was going to just be looking at all of my different headings? The next thing that I'm going to look at is this next section called War and Conquest. Again, as I was going through and talking with somebody about war and conquest, I am looking at and seeing that they have central command, strong military. These things in general are telling me that we have a strong government. So I'm going to write that there. This is important. We're going to see this as a characteristic of many of our empires, again, that there has to be a strong government in place to tell the peoples that they have in their empire and that they are conquering what to do and how to do so. In addition, again, we have this strong military. I think that's something important to note. This was something that made the Islamic or the Arab empires stand out in history, and this again allows them to take over older empires. So this was something I circled, and in my brain I was thinking, why is this important? And I wrote down the why is this important then. For some of you, it might also be strong military and being able to, again, give examples of places that they are conquering, drawing that arrow up there. The next thing that I would then talk about are motives. Now, I might have written down the word motives, and now I'm thinking, well, is this talking about motives for becoming Muslim or motives for conquest? After looking through my list and maybe talking to my classmates, I'm realizing that this is talking about motives for conquest, and so I'm going to add that in. So again, these are motives for conquest. One of them, capturing profitable trade routes and wealthy agricultural regions. Here I'm making the connection to prior learning, and I'm going to talk about how these trade routes that they are trying to capture used to be the old silk and sand roads. And again, we know that based on the places that they are conquering that we drew in our map above. Wealth is another one, and again, this is how they are getting that wealth, is because they are capturing these places and then allowed to take the wealth from those regions. We have social promotion here, and then the common task of unity, or what is the Ummah, aka our Islamic community. So here they are trying to bring all of the people together. They're banding under one common idea. Now, you'll notice that for some of these, I just drew an arrow. I maybe circled and added some things. I necessarily don't have to add something for every single line I have in my notes. However, I should be able to explain or give examples of what each of these should look like if we're talking about motives for conquest. Why did this give me a motive for conquest or taking over? You'll notice as I move down my page that I have some more vocabulary words. I initially underlined them, so maybe I'm going to go now and highlight some of these vocabulary words or circle them. Again, jihad, for my friends who were in Human Geo with me last year, we learned that this was the sixth pillar of Islam. So some people recognize it again as the sixth pillar, some do not. But this is something that we a lot of times give a negative connotation to nowadays, and we're talking about this in a positive light, specifically for the Islamic community, of bringing a righteous government to the conquered people. Okay, this is not, again, by use of sword to convert. It is not something that was meant back then to be an extremist idea. So jihad was literally just bringing that righteous government as well as eventually that righteous religion to those conquered people. Okay, so I think that this is important to note, that they were not violent in conversion. And so that's one of the things I want to write down. As I continue down my page, again, I have my Dinis, which is the protected Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians, because they have a very similar monotheistic religion or similar origins. They are going to be then protected by the Islamic community. The last one is that jizya tax, again, a tax on people who would not practice Islam. I'm making that connection. I have it on the back page of my notes as well, but I'm making that connection that this might be a reason also why people are going to convert. And then last but not least, for my heading here, War and Conquest, I have that the government is local elites and we have bureaucratic structures. We're going back to this idea that we have a strong government in place. And I'm also going to write organized. So as you can see on my page here, okay, that I have added in some ideas. Some of these are adding to vocabulary words, information that I knew prior. Maybe I had to look up a vocabulary word to see what that definition was, making connections as well as some drawings if I'm a visual learner. The last thing I have to do, remember I have my mini summary here. I need to make a mini summary for War and Conquest. Okay, and so I'm going to say, due to various motives and strong government, Arab Empire grew. So again, as I am looking at your notes page, it should be evident and obvious to me that you have discussed or talked about your notes with somebody else and not just saying, hey, what did you have written down? I need to also write that. A lot of times what people will do is they will purposefully forget quote unquote things in their notes and then expect somebody else to add them in later. So again, if I'm sharing out with my partner, I might purposefully forget motives so I can add that in a different color. That's not the purpose of interacting with our notes. Again, it's to deepen that understanding of what do I already know about my notes to be true, and then adding to them in terms of do I need to add that vocabulary, prior knowledge, as well as for clarification. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, that's all I have for interacting with our notes today.